Hello and welcome to this Open Farm Sunday webinar, all about hosting your first Open Farm Sunday event. So fantastic that we're joined today with Archie and Eden, who are going to be sharing their stories, and I'm going to be giving a little bit of information about Langmead herbs as well. But hopefully this is going to inspire you to host your first Open Farm Sunday event. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we can start going through a few slides, and then when we've gone through the presentations, there'll be plenty of time to ask questions and for discussion afterwards. So today, as I say, we're joined by Archie and Eden, but I've got a few slides just about Open Farm Sunday. So the first thing to remember, Open Farm Sunday this year on the 8th of June. The events can take place on a different date. But what's just so important is just that special experience that people get actually coming out onto a farm and actually seeing farming in action. It just makes it real and relevant. Visitors just love to meet a farmer and spend some time on a farm and learn about sustainable farming. So it's up to you to decide on the size and type of event that you organise. Could be a small farm walk through to an open day with a couple of hundred people or bigger. And you can manage the visitor numbers, potentially using a ticketing system. And I'm hoping that our speakers are going to be talking about how they've used that. And of course, it's free to register and there are free resources. So one thing to remember is that generally the audience that comes to Open Farm Sunday events are families. Last year, 23% of visitors had never been on a farm before. So your everyday farming activities and what you do day in, day out is just a whole new world to them. And they just love it. And my favourite stat as well in the orange boxes is the one top right that says 95% of visitors who came to events last year said that they came away with a better understanding of what sustainably produced food means. That is so important. We know that as an industry, we are working towards producing food more sustainably, and we understand what that means, but as a concept, what that means to the public. And that's what's so important about Open Farm Sundays, actually having the chance to speak with a farmer and see and understand what that means. So once a farmer has registered an Open Farm Sunday event, you can access lots of free resources. Here are some images of the resources that we've got: flyers, gate banner, ask me badges. I think those are brilliant. Different signs and things, all free to order online. And I just love this photograph. Every type of farm can take part in Open Farm Sunday. Every type of farmer, whatever your farm enterprise, every farmer has a fantastic story to share. So I really would encourage you to take part. So this is part of our Zooms. We've got our next one is on the 29th of April, covering lots of different activity ideas. Then we've got health and safety considerations on the 7th of May, and then there's a last minute Q&A section on the webinar on the 29th. People are interested, but all of the webinars are recorded and available on the website on the top tips and training page. So now it's over to Archie. Please, let's hear about your Open Farm Sunday journey.
Hi everyone. So yes, my name's Archie. I farm here at Lodge Farm in Essex with my sister Bryony. Bryony is here in spirit today, but she's actually working on our diversification at the moment, hence why she's not here. We've diversified part of our farmyard into a wedding venue, which is why she's not here. And before hosting Open Farm Sunday, we hosted quite a lot of public events that were more based around the venue in the past, you know, having old couples come down and everything. And when we first hosted Open Farm Sunday, we were half expecting the turnout to be largely past venue crowds, you know, the local cohorts who came down to open days and, you know, past couples and everything, just sort of coming down for a jolly. But on the first year doing it, which was, well, we're coming up to our third year now this year, we had a whole new demographic come down, which was really, really, really lovely. You know, we found that actually people coming down had gone out of their way to find us through the Open Farm Sunday website, and had come down because they were they didn't know we were a venue. they just knew that they just wanted to visit a farm, and they'd come down with the pure interest in seeing a working farm in action, which was really nice. It was great to sort of see a proper, interested demographic coming down. And it was lovely being able to explain things to everyone. We've got, you can see on the map there, we're very close to London. We've got quite a little oasis of greenery here, surrounded by very built up urban areas. So lots of people coming down who had never seen tractors before, don't have the benefit of being able to live next to open rural farmland areas, being able to sort of experience the farming world for themselves properly. And just a really nice opportunity for us to sort of explain to people how farming works, what the industry's like, and things that they may not have known before. So yeah, this is the map of our, well, not the entire farm, but our farmyard, where it all goes down. The blue box down towards the bottom part of the farmyard there is the car park where everyone sort of parks up. It doubles up as the car park for the venue as well. The red box is the field just above the, just next to the yard, where we have the majority of the activities take place. We park up a tractor there with a little trailer on the back, and we do small farm tours, only about 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so. We have machinery displays going on, all these things that kids absolutely love. We do have the added benefit of having the venue here. We have toilets, we have a bar, things like that, which help. But but from our experience though, it's very easy to keep families entertained. I appreciate it's a bit daunting opening up to the public when you're not used to it. We thankfully are used to it because of the venue, but like families just, they don't get to access these things a lot. Just having a few tractors lined up on the field with some machinery demos is more than enough to keep people entertained in our experience. So yeah, it's a really fun day. And what's really lovely as well is that, like I say, we're coming up to our third year now. We've done it twice, and a couple of times at our second year, we had the same people come down from the previous year, and they'd actually remembered the things we told them. The first year that we did it, we explained to people, kind of crop rotation works, all this kind of stuff, and the same people enjoyed it so much, they came back the second year, went on the trailer ride again, and they had remembered which fields had, which crops in the previous year. And they said to us, "Oh, I remember, yes, you had wheat in that this year. What have you got in it this year?" And it gives us, it's a really, really nice narrative to be able to explain. And it was really, really lovely to see people making duplicate returns. It's nice to see they enjoyed it so much that they wanted to come back. So yeah.
Can I just ask, I know you're presenting, what's the route? How long do you actually take for, because it's interesting, if you've not done Open Farm Sunday before and you do a tractor and trailer ride, how do you approach that?
So we just do a very short little run. You can see where the cursor is on the screen, just below the blue box. We follow the track just down that curve there, along the track, all the way along to where you see that divergent bit comes going down towards the bottom of the screen. Because there's a little, there's a barn down there that has a little kestrel box attached to it, so it always makes a nice little narrative there. It's also got an excellent vantage point of the valley that we farm. So, there's no need to take them the whole way down the farm, because we can basically see the vast majority of the land that we manage from that vantage point. So we pause there for a few minutes, explain what's going on in all the fields. There's quite a nice mix of both arable and environmental schemes there, so a nice narrative there as well. And then we double back on ourselves back towards the yard again before heading up that narrow track that turns left there, following the cursor up along that winding track all the way up to the top of that triangular field, where again you've got another nice vantage point of the farm on that side. Again, pause there for a few minutes before traveling on back down the same track back to the farmyard. So all in all, it takes about, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. We tend to run the day for about 5 hours or so we can squeeze a good, at least half a dozen rides in, when you take into account people getting off and on the trailer and everything, you can squeeze in a good 8 rides or so. So yeah, it's a good number of people that we're able to show around, which is nice. And then we have just a few photos of the bits and bobs that we have going on. So this is inside the venue itself. We didn't have many photos of the actual field where the machinery demos and stuff go on. But going from left to right, there's the picture of the courtyard of the venue. We just got outdoor seating with a few drinks and stuff going on. People can just grab something from the bar, which is that grey building with the curved roof. A woman called Fiona from Leaf. She's just helping out with a little cereals sort of food production activity with some kids there. So that's something else you can ask. Asking Leaf if they've got any support available for the event. A little team photo that we have just on that's the trailer we do the rides on. With our whole team. That gives you an idea of the support that we had. You can see in that photo there's some people in the white shirts. They were just our bar staff, but the rest of them were all sort of farm team and people from Leaf themselves, helping out with various things, sort of car parking and actually hosting the activities and stuff, operating the machinery. And then the last photo in the bottom right is a little archaeology activity we had going on. We've had a detectorist down here working in the fields, finding all sorts of, everything from Roman through to sort of Georgian artifacts. And he did this really cool archaeology detectorist activity. We just built that sand pit in the main barn and bought a handful of cheap little kids metal detectors, and kids could just clamber into that sand pit and try and find little fake coins and stuff, which kept them busy for hours, which obviously made the parents very happy. So lots of little activities you can do. Obviously that one was quite unique to us because of our situation with the detectorist and stuff, but the Open Farm Sunday website has all sorts of case studies if you need help or any inspiration in what activities to do. So yeah, it's a little overview of what we do.
Fantastic. Thank you so much indeed. Right. That's brilliant. Over to you, Eden. Would you like to talk about your Open Farm Sunday journey?
I would love to. So yeah, my name is Eden. I farm with my husband, John. So we're up in Lancaster, in Lancashire, but originally lived in Sussex. So that's where my journey of dealing with the public started, was back in Sussex. We started to do what they call farmer time, the video calls. So that's where it kind of started, and I realised actually I really love it. And we thought next thing along is obviously Open Farm Sunday. So it took us a couple of years of missing Open Farm Sunday and not realising when it was before we actually got around to doing it. And honestly, it was probably the best thing that I did last year. And I'm not just saying that here, I really do mean it. It was fantastic. I was heavily pregnant at the time as well. We still managed to make it work. We had about 200 people come to the farm. I think it was just over that. And it was absolutely brilliant. So we've got sheep, cows, pigs. At the time we had goats as well, donkeys on the farm. And we, at the moment, we sell our meat to the public through Lancashire Lamb Boxes. So that's how we do a lot of our advertising for Open Farm Sunday. So in every meat box that we post out to people, we have, I don't know, can you see me?
Yes.
Hopefully can. We have the cards that we got from Open Farm Sunday. You can apply that, you get the resources on the website. Obviously these don't have a date on them, but what we found actually was because we have a label printer, which loads of people have label printers, or they at least know somebody, anyone with their own business probably will have a label printer. So we just fed a whole load of labels in, printed out the QR code, which takes you through to the booking, which we do through Try Booking. So if someone scans that, they get this in the meat box, they scan that, tells them what it is, when it is, where it is, which seems to be quite good because people can then look, you're not in your face advertising to them, but we know that those people are interested in supporting farms because they're buying, which is helpful. We do quite a lot on social media as well. So, but yeah, in terms of staff, we had, let's say, throughout the day we probably had about 15 people, but not everybody stayed for the whole day. Some people stayed with us for a few days beforehand. But in terms of paid staff, because obviously I know running an event like this, you don't want it to cost a lot of money, but I think we only paid 2 people, and they would have been people that we anyway, and they just did lots of stuff to help us out. And just like many farms, our farm gets a bit messy at times. So the tidy up and just making sure everything went back into its house was something that actually it's quite welcome, because it's easy for things to just sort of fall behind a little bit. So yeah, we're looking forward to that this year. We've already kind of started to get everything into place and organising things. But I must say, like, the support from you guys at Leaf is unbelievable. It's fantastic, because if we have any questions, we know where to go. There is always somebody that we can speak to, and it doesn't take years to hear back. It's so good. So I'm very happy with that. And why do we participate in it? Because I love education, and talking to non-farmers about farming. Because before I was a farmer, I knew nothing about farming. Like I didn't even know how to shut a tractor door. So we've come a long way. Now we run the 550-acre hill farm, just the 2 of us. So we've done all right. But I'm very aware that there's a huge gap between farmer and consumer. And if we can bridge that even a tiny bit, it all helps people understand as well. We do like farm educational visits for kids through countryside stewardship as well, and it ties well. So that's another way that we advertise Open Farm Sunday, is to speak to them when they're coming to their session for that and say, well, come back for a slightly different event. Yeah, or also try and push that they try and find a farm as well. They've been to ours before, well, why not find another farm? Put it on the website. It's nothing too crazy that we do, really. So we have just a tractor and quad bike parked up. People can take pictures of them. So they're in the box, that like yellow box in that field. We just park them out there, come and go as they please. They can go along the black line, which is just a footpath or footpath route. It's not the official footpath, but guide them around there. So they get to see the view just below the screen of the map. There's a huge valley, and then the farm just like expands out over the hills. So that little walk usually is a nice photo opportunity for everyone. Hopefully, if it's sunny, which we did all right last year, wasn't too bad. But pretty much, yeah. So parking we have in our red spaces, but we have just also concreted the yard around the bottom, just like above that blue box. That's the slurry lagoon. Everything around that is now concrete. So in theory, yeah, parking, because that was our limiting factor last year. We had lots of people wanting to come, but had nowhere to park them, so no idea. So actually this year we're also doing Open Farm Saturday and Sunday, which we'll see how that goes. I'm not sure, but yeah, we had such demand to see the farm that we thought we ought to do something, capture them whilst we can. The green dot is just where our toilets are. So there's just one toilet on the farm, which we felt was fine last year. This year we've also got a toilet block, which we have for like a safari tent sort of thing. We don't actually have that, but we still have the toilet block. So we're going to use that as well, and then let people camp at night. So from that Saturday to the Sunday, camp to the top there. So a little bit out of the way, but quite nice for them. And then pretty much everything happened in the barn in the blue box. So all of our activities, because we didn't know what the weather was going to be like, wonderfully living on the farm. It's notoriously bad weather up here, unfortunately. And we felt we needed to offer people something indoors so that they didn't cancel if it was raining. And it was absolutely fine. So we had face painting and crafts activity, like a lady in the village, she came up and brought that with some pictures around the farm. We had animals for meet and greet. So we've got one on at the moment. We live stream our animals giving birth. So at the moment, we've got 2 cows due to calve now, and they're just on a live stream. But people know them, so they get to know them. So we've got to get close to get to know them. Those piglets there. So they were out with one of our sows called Pifa, who watched give birth 2 weeks ago. It was Mother's Day. Remember that one? Feels like a long time ago. But yeah, so we have hundreds of thousands of people tuning into those. So for them to meet those animals, it's quite special. But yeah, I can't remember what I was saying. I can't remember. I got distracted with my photos. But yeah, what we have in the barn. We had a little barbecue. So as we sell our meat, we thought, well, if we can barbecue our burgers and our sausages, that's handy. We also were selling our meat as well, so people could buy a pack of sausages or burgers or diced. And that went down really, really well. Really enjoyed meeting the farmer and seeing the farm. They speak to us a lot anyway, but to see the farm and really understand like where they can see it before and eat it and also see it as well. So like it's the whole thing. Well, not quite. It's this whole thing as we could get. And what else do we have? We had lots of like facts. So through Leaf we got the big posters. There's like education posters. We stuck them around. We're really enjoying those. This year as I say, we're doing camping. We're hoping evening to have some live music as well. And just to spend more time engaging with people, because that was something that I definitely felt last year. I didn't really get time to speak to them. I was too busy. I didn't take a single photo, but it was just such a fantastic day though. And honestly, I would recommend that. I wish every farm would open to the public, because especially on a year like this, we all know that it's been a lot of farms, but the public, they want the opportunity to speak to us. They have lots of questions, and some of them they don't even realize they have the questions, but actually by putting that farming prompt in front of them, it gives them the perfect opportunity to ask in a non-judgmental and safe space, where I feel like social media isn't a non-judgmental safe space a lot of the time in comment sections. So a lot of the public don't brave enough to ask the questions that they deem as silly questions that we really don't deem as silly questions. So yeah, I would definitely say do open farm Sunday. It was fantastic. Like the amount of kids that came and learned lots. You kind of expect children to learn lots about farming, but what blew me away the most was the adults that came to the farm didn't know very much about farming at all. And yeah, it was shocking but eye-opening, but brilliant that they'd actually come.
Fantastic. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. Look, we've got a couple of more photos.
Oh yes. That's on the left is just a picture from doing the education. So we had 2 lambs, bottle lambs. So yeah, if you have any lambs on your farm, it's always a winner. Goat kids, calves, anything baby is definitely. And then that bottom one that's another thing I forgot. The bottom middle one is not a very good photo. I think it's from a video, but basically we did Caton Gala, which is a local village fete to us. We took our donkeys, which obviously pulls everybody in to come and see the donkeys, but whilst they're there, say, why don't you come to the farm? And yeah, it went down really well to us from that. But also quite a lot of people from the Open Farm Sunday website, just on the map, people just looked local.
Fabulous. Thank you very much indeed. That's brilliant. Now then, we've got a couple of slides now where I'm cheating here. We were hoping that Omar Collins from Langmead Herbs was going to come and talk about their first Open Farm Sunday event there, but sadly he's had to back out. But in actual fact, I took most of these photographs because I actually did go to their event. As you can see there, it happened on Sunday the 16th of June. So Open Farm Sunday events don't have to happen on the day itself, and it's great to hear that Eden's opening up over the whole weekend this coming year. But so I did pop down and see them. So Omar himself had done Open Farm Sunday in his previous job somewhere else. But when he moved to Langmead Herbs, he managed to convince them to do Open Farm Sunday. And they do school visits, but they had a fabulous event. So they used the Try Booking service, which you've talked about as well. They had set times for walks, for guided walks, and invited people to come along for those set times. And they released like 40 tickets for each one. So, but basically, they're an arable and herb site. They only opened up the herb site with the polytunnels. And then the other site where they grow herbs in open fields was elsewhere. But it was just fascinating to walk around. One thing that I loved from the ticketing service, and we've done a whole Zoom on ticketing, so if anyone is interested in controlling visitor numbers and controlling the flow of people, like at Langmead Herbs, they didn't want all 80 people to turn up at once. They wanted people to come in small groups so that they could manage small farm tours at one time. And that's where the ticketing comes in brilliantly. But what I loved that OMA did was that, and through the ticketing, you can remind people that they've booked to come to an event, and then you can send another email giving them sort of, and you can keep that interest going. Most Open Farm Sunday events are free. And if they're free, then the ticketing service is free. But sadly, some people might either forget if they book very early, or something else might crop up. So it is actually quite important just to keep that interest going. And as Eden says, they're sending out, messages about your different livestock and how things are coming along and what you've got planned. But the confirmation that OMA sent out was brilliant. It had a really fantastic warm welcome to say that we're excited and looking forward to you coming. Brilliant. We want to show you around the polytunnels, talking about the activities, what's going to be there, what people can expect, and that you're going to take home some free seeds that you've planted. So I just loved that communication, and it even talked in there about to say who were the two first aiders. So if anyone does have an accident, to go and find them on the farm. I've not seen that before in a communication, but that was lovely. And they talked about their standards as well, about how people will be able to learn about how they're growing their herbs to the standards required for the supermarkets that they supply. So I loved that. And yeah, one herbs, it was polytunnels of herbs. But fantastic. And Omar had gone to the trouble of actually getting some farm facts and sticking them up on the tunnel. How many mojitos could be made from the mint that they had there, which is just brilliant. I loved it. And everyone just had a fab time. And as you can see from the photographs, yeah, the children had a great time charging around and whatever, but the adults as well just loved the opportunity to sit in a tractor cab and just be children again. It was just fantastic. So it was very simple. Each tour that they did lasted about an hour, I think it was. That marquee with the bunting was sort of the welcome point and the end point. And one thing that Omar, there with the blue check shirt, he's their agronomist and technical manager. And he gave just one of the best presentations about soil and soil management. And they just had some simple washing up bowls with 3 different examples of 3 different types of soil from different parts of the farm, and talking about encouraging people to touch them, to see the difference between them. And he could talk about how they have to manage their crops according to the different soils that they're with. So, which is just, it was fascinating. People were really, really interested. And then there was that opportunity to plant a seed and take some herbs home. So it was lovely. It was fascinating. It was interesting to see crops grown large scale like this. They just did an absolutely brilliant event. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. So and finally, my last slide is just a big thank you to Archie and Eden for giving your presentations. And I have to say, of course, a huge thank you to our sponsors, who without our sponsors, we can't run Open Farm Sunday. So that's absolutely fantastic. Right, I'm going to stop sharing, and now it's an opportunity for questions and discussion. And I want to ask, how far away did people travel to your events? Eden, you were saying there that people didn't, that people found you from the website. Did they tend to come? How do you know how far the furthest person came?
We had, and they're coming again this year as well. We had somebody from Kent coming, and we had someone from Cornwall coming up to Lancaster.
So did they stay overnight on your campsite then?
Yeah, so we didn't allow camping last year, but because we knew that they were coming such a long way, they stayed. We had a safari tent, and it was just like an open space, and then they brought their sleeping bags. They just all were in there together. Anyone that had come a really long way.
Wow.
Yeah, this year we're gonna do tents, but people can bring their own tent, because I think that actually was just an amazing thing. I was blown away by the distance that people were willing to travel to come to a farm and just learn. It's just amazing. That's fantastic.
That's brilliant. And Archie, did you find that did you get a lot of people from London coming to you, or from surrounding towns? Where did people come?
Yeah, that's right. That's it. I mean, yeah, I certainly can't top Cornwall, but yes, London primarily. We had, I mean, we are literally, touching distance of the ULEZ. So yeah, London was a hot spot, and I think we had also from the southern edge of London as well. So we're right on the northern part, so we had people coming from like Walthamstow and everything, but also all the way around the other side, sort of Surrey way. We had a few people coming out from there as well. So I'd say, yeah, like maybe hour and a half we had people sort of coming out from. So a deep it was like a nice distance, which was really nice to see.
Yeah. And did you, when you used the ticketing service, did you make it exclusively ticket only? If somebody turned up, did you allow them in? How did it?
So we did use the ticketing system, but we used it for the trailer rides. It was a public event in terms of actually getting in through the gate. Any number of people could turn up for that. And I think in the end we had I think last year was about 250, 300-ish. But obviously all those people we couldn't fit on the trailer. So the trailer, we sort of capped the capacity on that. And if you wanted to register interest on the trailer ride, that's what we used the ticketing system for. Because we only did that for the second year. That was something that we learned the hard way. The first year we didn't do a ticketed system on the trailer rides, and it was absolutely fine. No problems whatsoever. But there were a lot of people who were waiting to have a trailer ride, and then in the end weren't able to have it because obviously there were lots of other people who were queuing up first, and it was so yeah, we used the ticketing system for that. But yeah, that's right. If you did want to cap off your event for any certain, like OMA did, it works really well if you just want to try and control the capacity. I can speak from experience that it does work very well.
Brilliant. Eden, how did you manage it? I mean, and Eden, if yours was an entry ticket that you had, did you have tickets, say, for adults and children so that you could see the demographic of your visitors?
Yeah, so because we thought that there might be a large amount of interest just because of our social presence, we were a bit concerned that people would book a free ticket and then not turn up, and then other people would miss out. So what we did was we charged £3 entry, and then it was like staggered. So you book a time slot, you would book 10 or 10:30 up until 3, and then we say ideally about 4. But we're not really strict on it. And yeah, it was free for infants, but they didn't get a token for a free drink. Whereas with every paying entrant, they got a token, which they could then come to us and get water, juice, that sort of thing. And that worked quite well actually, because it brought people into the right direction. They were actually buying a drink, so then they were getting a drink, so quite a lot of them then bought a burger, which we obviously were getting money from, so that was quite handy. I wouldn't say that we necessarily made money from the day, but it certainly covered its costs, which was all we were really hoping for. But it's more just the ability to engage with the consumer. The ticketing system. So we're still doing it this year through try booking, and it was fantastic. It's so straightforward. I'm not very good with technology at all. We've got a laptop that's on its last legs, and even that copes. So I'm so bad at technology that my phone couldn't quite manage to sort the Zoom out. So, but we got there. But yeah, it's definitely worth it, and there's always somebody on hand to stuff.
Fantastic. So I've got to ask, what are your top tips for somebody who's taking part for Open Farm Sunday for the first time this year? Who wants to go first? Archie, have you got any thoughts on what you would recommend people do? We've got 7-8 weeks to go to Open Farm Sunday on the 8th of June.
I would having the right balance of activities for both kids and adults. I think on the first Open Farm Sunday, I personally focused a bit too much on focusing on mainly sort of kids activities and stuff. And actually, yes, it is a family day out for the most part, but at the end of the day, the adults need something to keep themselves occupied as well. Now, thankfully, we have a bar, so they were kind of able to keep themselves occupied there. But it is a learning opportunity for everyone, and so I spent a long time for the second year. I spent a long time reading through, a great deal of the case studies and examples on the Open Farm Sunday website, just trying to draw a bit of inspiration to create a nice variety of activities for all demographics, all ages, and that paid huge dividends. So yeah, but like don't also when you say that sounds like a lot of effort and potentially a lot of money, which it doesn't have to be. We've done like Eden, we've done the countryside stewardship as well for the educational visits, and my sister had a class out once, and I think they literally spent half the entire visit just measuring tractor wheels. That's literally all we did. We just lined up some tractors on the car park, and Bryony sent them off with a bunch of little tape measures, and they just had to find out which one had the biggest tires. And it literally kept them busy for ages. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. A lot of these kids have never seen a tractor before, so just being able to be near this stuff is very valuable to these people.
Fantastic. Eden, what would your top tips be to someone taking part for the first time?
I will second all of that as well. To be fair, we also focused on kids a little bit, but also I think just take a step back as well. It's it certainly was for us. It was a really, really busy day, and it's almost like your wedding day. Like there's so much planning and stuff going on. Just take a little bit of time to also enjoy the day, which I feel like I didn't at all last year. And I was asked if I had any photos, so I didn't have a single photo of the day, because I didn't stop, but I could have stopped realistically and just to just enjoy it and just chat with a few people. And I think as well don't overcomplicate things. And what we're finding this year is actually us doing Open Farm Sunday is something that we want to do every single year. So making an investment into something, don't try not to view it as, it's cost us X amount of pounds to run this Open Farm Sunday. But actually, if you've got that item, you can reuse that as like a prop or whatever every year. So we have like pin the tail on the donkey, like a little setup, but we can just pull that out every year. It's a nice, fun little activity. They take a photo with it. They've got a memory then that they see every time, and they go, "Oh, that's when we went to the farm," and it's that lasting memory. But it didn't cost a huge amount, but we will get years of use out of it. I do think that is quite important. Don't think that everything is down to 1 year. Go do Open Farm Sunday for the long run. I think that's probably how you get the most out of it.
Fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant. That's wonderful. And our next webinar is all about activities. So we will be sharing hundreds of different activities then, because there are all sorts of different things that you can do. You were saying, Archie, that you had the sandpit with the archaeological coins and things for people to find. A few farmers actually they engage with their local primary school if they've got a link there, and they get school teachers to come along, and actually just having a storytelling area where they get children, because they get so excited, you know, when they arrive, they just want to charge around. They've got so much energy, but then just come to a point where they actually need to just be calmed down, sit down. And I know people that just have some, you know, on the hour. Each hour they'll get someone to read some storybooks. The kids love to sit down and listen to someone reading a farming story to them, and it gives the parents the chance to have a break, you know, and just think, great, children are being looked after. I can just sit and have a cup of tea or a drink or a beer or something and just relax and chill. But just lots of simple activities on, yeah, getting the message across about sustainability and farming with nature. I mean, that is just so important, and as you say, visitors just really don't have a clue. So or so many of them don't. But lovely, Archie, that you were saying that people were actually coming back and remembered what they'd heard on your first tour. So yeah, that's just phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, and just if you don't mind, just a quick extension on what you just said there. One of our most popular attractions for the both past Open Farm Sunday events, and this also links to Eden with, you know, things to drag out every year. We made just a simple big, you know, A1 poster board thing that has the history of the farm on it. You know, in terms of storytelling and stuff. We had this board that just explained the 100 years of the farm and everything. And you know, all farms have a lot of history to them, no matter how long it's been. And we just had it all printed up on a board. Someone stood next to it, and they engaged with people non-stop because they were all really interested about it. And you know, where it come from, previous years of farmers, previous generations. There's a lot of value in the history side of it as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Bridget, I don't know if you're still there and listening. If you have any questions at all that you'd like to ask Eden or Archie, you're very welcome to. Oh, have you just frozen? Hopefully. Oh, yes, you need to come off mute. There we go.
Sorry, I was just joining speculatively. I've only got a small farm, no tractors, so I also I've never been involved in the school visits, so I don't have things like hand and welly wash biosecurity. So it was just, this year was just sort of seeing what was involved and whether it was something that was suitable for me. But I guess I was the questions I had were perhaps, you know, what if people hurt themselves, or what if they damage things, or their car gets damaged? Has anybody had any problems with the open days? Because everyone's really enthusiastic. It sounds like it went really well. I'm perhaps more a negative person, and I'm like, oh god, that could go wrong, this could go wrong.
Eden or Archie, yeah, do you want to answer?
Yeah, sorry, I was talking about, yes, health and safety policies are obviously an important thing. You know, I've been trying not to talk about them too much, largely because I didn't want to bring the tone of the tone of the Zoom down. But it is important. You know, don't be led to think that you can just gloss over it. We have to focus on health and safety all the time, not just because of the farm, but because of the venue as well. You know, we've got drunk people tripping up over bits of concrete all the time, and it is a nightmare. Now, we have. Do you mind me asking? Are you yourself first aid trained?
No.
Right. So myself and my staff are all first aid trained. We have a select few first aid boxes that we put around the place. And whenever we do educational visits, we will always, before we actually show people around, we say to people, by the way, I myself am first aid trained. And if you need help with anything, if you trip and get a graze or whatever, come find me or one of my colleagues, and we will show you and we'll take you to a first aid kit. Obviously, Open Farm Sunday doesn't work like a school trip. a school trip in that sense. There's no initial meeting point where you can brief everyone at the same time. So all I would recommend is having a poster at the entrance. I think what was shown on Omar's initial thing, where he actually had a little, those few pinpoints of activities and parking, and then eventually, by the way, these are our first aid stations. That was a brilliant idea. I think that was something I hadn't thought of, and that's actually something I think I'll incorporate into our future Open Farm Sundays. I think just a poster on your welcome table, wherever you choose that to be, have a little thing saying, find one of these people, they'll take you to a first aid kit. So if you are concerned about it, buy yourself a couple of first aid kits if you haven't got them already. You can just go to St. John's Ambulance, just order them online. They arrive with everything that legally needs to be in a first aid kit, so you don't need to worry about the actual legalities of it. Make it clear where they are, who to contact, and you'll be covered then. That's what I recommend from a HSE point of view. If it's muddy, I don't know, hopefully you'll have water somewhere in the yard. If you need a boot washing station, just a hose coming out with a tap on the end of it and a little nozzle somewhere to blast down some muddy boots. That's what we do, and that's what people like. So yeah, they're what I would recommend.
Also, just to add with like hand washing stations,
Yeah.
They sell them online. We have got a sink, but we've just bought one as well. It's literally just like a box and you just pour water in the top. Have that. It's literally like this, probably the same size as my torso. It's not very big, but you can just pop it up on the side. You can bring it down low for kids. You just fill it up with water and it creates a running tap in effect, but you don't have to have it like that, which I think it's about 30-40 pounds. There's probably even cheaper options as well. Don't feel that it has to be open. And if you've got a toilet, that's obviously handy. We did look at hiring portaloos. See, they're not overly cheap, but you can buy them quite often farm sales, which we've also seen. So it might be also a place to look, even if it's not for this year, but maybe for next year, just look over the next few months, because a lot of people will buy one. Just chuck it to farms.
Yeah, we've got. No, that's brilliant
as well.
Yeah, brilliant. We've got so we've got a health and safety Zoom is the one after the activities one. I mean, one thing that I've seen before now in photographs of events, and that's why I love to get loads of photos in afterwards because we learn from them, is just an old kitchen sink. And I remember Rebecca up in Scotland who used to help promote Open Farm Sunday up there. When they did open, they had on their farm, they had a holiday cottage where they revamped the kitchen. And when they were getting rid of the kitchen cabinets, instead of putting them in the skip, they actually kept a double unit in the sink. And that's what they wheel out for hand washing for Open Farm Sunday. And I've seen before where people have managed to get hold of, from a dump or just really cheap secondhand, a stainless steel sink. If you've got a tap, a couple of pipes linked to it, you've got running water there, liquid soap, paper towels, and that is good. That's good. And as Archie was saying, have a hose and a brush or something for wiping down Wellington boots. And there are practical ways that you can get around that. So yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Any other? Bridget, we can contact you direct afterwards so that we can have a chat through any of your concerns and things like that as well. So if you'd like us to do that, we can have a bespoke conversation about how you can make Open Farm Sunday work on your farm.
Also, Bridget, don't be put off by the fact that our events are quite large. That I didn't have to have had a big farm to be able to have done. Pretty much everything was just in our barn, and it sounds like Archie's bio tractor rides was much as well. And it's just get imaginative. There's so much that you can do.
Yeah, you say, yeah, that's made me conscious of the fact that I was spouting off a lot about, tractors and stuff. I appreciate that, Bridget, that, not all farms do have have that benefit. But yes, as Eden says, there's, just because you haven't got any tractors, that does not mean you're lacking in any amount when it comes to activities and opportunities you can offer.
Absolutely. I mean, even, and this will come out in the activities one, talking about soil, having a spade to dig up the soil. I've even seen Open Farm Sunday events where they've had children's little children's trowels and plastic in spade type things, digging a hole and getting children to look and see how many worms they can find. And then you can talk about the important role that worms have. If you've got hedgerows, talking about the different species there, wildlife on the farm, if you've got barn owls, kestrels, whatever. And again, this is going to come out in the next Zoom, is actually if you can either have a book with pictures in or printouts of what they look like. I've been to events before now where we stood next door to a hedge, and it was actually a chap from the local wildlife trust was saying he had a whole series of photographs, and he had photographs of the small birds that live in the hedgerow. And so he held one of them up and said, look, this is a lovely bird. What do you think this bird is? And he was asking that question and making it interactive. Because obviously, when you had 20 people standing next door to the hedge on Open Farm Sunday, there wasn't a bird in sight, because there wouldn't be, because there's too many people there. But just holding it up. And then when it came to the barn owl, he held up the picture of the barn owl and he said, now, does anyone know what this is? And people knew it was an owl. Nobody then, apart from me, knew that it was a barn owl, because they just didn't know that. And so showing them a picture, and some of them might think, oh, that's a lovely bird, isn't it? And whatever. But it just, when you talk about, he could have just said, we're really proud that we've got a pair of nesting barn owls on the farm. But it wouldn't have meant that much to those people there, because they didn't actually know what a barn owl looked like. So actually just having a simple prop like the picture just actually kind of made it relevant and whatever. And I thought that was a lovely way to talk about the wildlife and biodiversity on the farms. So yeah, you will have, honestly, there's lots that you can talk about. So hopefully I'll see you on the next Zoom. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming. Archie, Eden, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for all your fabulous words. That's fantastic. And yeah, we will, I think we'll end there. And yeah, we will be in touch. And as I say, the next Zoom is on the 29th of April, all about different activities. Fantastic. Thank you so much.